What do you say to those who might think that this is a way to influence the election ahead of that governor's race?
My story need to be told. I'm just here to tell the truth.
So how would term 2 of an Edwards administration differ from term 1?
Well, first of all, the good news is we have the stability that we need.
The number of undecided voters hovering more or less around 5%, give or take. But what do you think it'll take to win them over come Saturday?
Well, I tell you what, they know this governor. They've known him for 4 years as governor, and they still undecided. That bodes well for us.
Yeah, Carly, that biggest change being the rain over the past 20 minutes or so, really coming down more heavily than even we spoke about last hour. Call it a delicious way to help protect South Louisiana's coastline with a little bit of help from 20 seafood restaurants and hundreds of volunteers.
Yeah, this is my way of life.
With a wheel in his hand, Donald Dardor wraps around the fingery bayous at the feet of America. His catch, tonight's dinner.
I didn't learn too much in school, but I learned I could live off the land, and I don't think I'd starve.
And for the Pointe-au-Chien tribe 60 miles south of New Orleans, much of that land now sits bare or underwater.
When I grew up, where water is now, we played back there. Where there's no trees now, there used to be oak trees, fruit trees. Now it's a stick.
Yeah, that tree is on both sides of the bayou. It's been more like a forest instead of the way it looks this way.
Members have feared their tribal mounds could be among the next to fall. Mounds their ancestors built centuries ago to wait out the floods.
I just imagine in my mind how much dirt and how much time it took them to put that up, and they didn't have no excavators way back then, so but it took years to build up that high. That's why I hate to see that getting washed away.
Kilo 5, Lima Sierra uniform.
One weekend a year at Baton Rouge's Highland Road Park Observatory is all about making waves.
It's a lot of time thought of an outdated hobby, but the physics is still the same.
LSU senior Catherine Dugas joined nearly 24 of the Baton Rouge area's amateur radio aficionados, or hams as they call themselves, for a challenge.
There's something beyond cell phones.
Swap the cell phones and social media accounts for a radio signal and spend 24 hours scanning the air.
It's still a place where you can explore new ways to communicate, and so in that sense it's not old at all.
Beyond the fun of testing how far these radio signals can reach, one purpose lies closer to home. Amateur radio can become a prime source of contact when emergencies knock out power or phone lines.
We saw that happen in the flood that we had here in 2016, and we actually had to deploy 40 amateur radio operators.
We don't need a phone line. We can actually send a list of supplies needed, particularly for our hospitals.
Thank you. 3 Alpha, Lima Alpha.
The technology is 100 years strong, with more than 725,000 hams licensed today through the FCC, more than ever, with the ages of operators ranging from 9 to 100.
It's still a place where you can explore new ways to communicate, and so in that sense it's not old at all.
And in a world where fear of missing out can feel all too real, hams of all ages say their hobby marks one more way to stay in touch.
And sometimes, like in an emergency, it's the only thing you can do, but it's still just an awful lot of fun.
So there's something for everyone.
If I'd have known that that was going to give me the opportunity to meet and know Trina and ultimately marry her, I would have gladly walked into prison.
If you want exercise, you get hold of a 5-year-old boy.
He gets up every morning and brings him to school. He picks him up most of the afternoons, and if he isn't doing that, he's bringing him to the park or bowling. He's really a great daddy.
I have 4 children, all of whom are over 60 years old. When my first children were born, I was very occupied as a lawyer and a politician, and I really didn't spend as much time with them as I should have. But I'm making it up with Eli.
He says he'd like to live long enough to see his son graduate high school in about 12 years. Beyond that, Edwin Washington Edwards hopes Eli Wallace Edwards' familiar initials will serve him well.
Trina, of course, is very optimistic. She has a shirt made for him, EWE for Governor 2053.